Manchester United 0, Leeds United 0. A lot of people believe that preseason doesn't matter, and I respectfully disagree with that. I think the results don't matter, but preseason acts as a lab of some sorts where managers experiment with new strategies ahead of the new season. And in this video, I am going to show you a few tactical observations that I have made that prove that Ruben Amorim is evolving his tactical approach. Without any further ado, let's analyze. All right, so let's get started with the first tactical observation, and that's going to be Matheus Cunha's role. So as I've said in my last video, the main role that Matheus Cunha is going to play tactically for Ruben Amorim is to act as a linchpin, a connector of some sorts between the defense and the attack. And so here I'm going to show you examples of how Matheus Cunha was actually able to do that for Manchester United in the first 45 minutes of this game. So here we can see Matheus Cunha coming in to collect the ball from the three center backs. He collects the ball, and then there aren't many Manchester United players that have the bravery, the courage, the boldness, the arrogance to do these kind of things. Like here, what Cunha knows is that the chances of him going past these players are actually quite slim, but he knows that they will actually try to stop him by committing a foul. And it doesn't matter because that still results in Manchester United progressing the ball towards the opponent. Think about it as rugby, incremental gains as you get closer to the opposition's goal. Here's another example, an even better example, because this one actually resulted in a shot on goal. As you can see here, this is the structure with the three defenders and the two double pivots right there. Cunha, again, is the one among the three forwards that comes deeper to collect the ball. And then when he does, he has this superior ball-carrying ability. So, for example, here he receives the ball, and then he's going to actually move in between the lines of Leeds United. He's a very good dribbler. He's really hard to knock down, great balance. And then here, as you can see, again, that's what I talked about in my Matheus Cunha video, which is that he exerts all of this influence on the pitch. What it means is that he attracts a lot of attention towards him, which actually frees up space for the others. When I made my video on Xerxes and Højlund, this is what I meant when I said that players like Matheus Cunha and Bemu are going to actually allow Højlund and Xerxes to have better performances because they're going to create more space because of the attention that they command. So with Cunha's role, I am really happy. You know that feeling when someone tells you, yo, bro, you got to check out OK Computer by Radiohead, and you're like, oh, come on, it's probably overrated. It's probably not as good as you are saying, and then you listen to it and you're like, oh, okay, I get it, okay? That's exactly how I feel about Cunha's role, because that's how I told you he was going to influence proceedings tactically for Ruben Amorim, and that's exactly what he did in the first 45 minutes. So I'm really excited to see what's going to cook up for us in the upcoming season. Now let's move on to the second observation. Now Ruben Amorim, in the build-up with his sporting team, he used to use an unorthodox method, which was to actually push the central center-back into a defensive midfield position and really just have a build-up with two defenders out of three. This is something that he has experimented with at Manchester United when he first joined for a couple of games, but then he quickly abandoned that. Maybe he felt that he needed a preseason to work with the players on it. But in this game, every build-up sequence literally was in this way. And here I'm going to show you how in the first half it didn't really work, but then in the second half we were actually much more successful, which shows the potential of this approach going forward, okay? So here what we have, this is the first instance. This was in the first minute of the game. Here De Ligt and Casemiro alongside Mazraoui and Luke Shaw. As you can see, they form this kind of box, and because they're spreading wide, what they're doing is that they're making it harder for the opposition to press the center backs, which means that the center backs have a little more time on the ball. But here it doesn't result in anything because Baindir just ended up clearing it. It's as if, okay, the defenders were able to do it, but to what goal, right? To what end? They were not quite sure. And Leeds United, who were actually much sharper than us in the first half, they quickly wisened up and they quickly found a solution, which is to wait for triggers. So here, for example, as Mazraoui is going to pass the ball to Baindir, here you have this Leeds player going towards Baindir, and then this one, Nonto, I think, going towards Luke Shaw. And that's exactly what they were doing. And so with this way, they were actually able to stifle us and just nullify this build-up approach that we had. But in the second half, things actually improved. So for example, here in this situation, as the ball comes towards Leny Yoro, as you can see, again, we see the same thing here with Ugarte and then Harry Maguire forming this box right here. Literally, it's loosening in a way that structure the lines that Leeds United have. But the main reason why Ruben Amorim favors this way is that by giving his defenders more time, he's also given the forward players more time in order for them to find spaces where they can collect the ball. And here what we're going to see with Montanto is that as Liniero has the ball, everyone is attracted towards this four defenders shape, that they're forgetting about Montanto over here. Montanto is able to receive the ball. Unfortunately, his first touch was not very good. And here we're going to see Montanto again, but now with Harry Maguire. Same thing, Harry Maguire stepping in, and he's able to play a ball in between the Leeds United line, the midfield line, where Montanto again was let down by his first touch. Again, I'm not knocking him down. He's still young. It's a preseason game. It doesn't matter. But just imagine this with a player like Libero, with a player like Cunha, okay? Now, that's when this system can actually become extremely potent and really, really interesting and exciting from a tactical perspective. Now, however, this sequence is, in my opinion, the most exciting sequence of the game, and it features Fredrickson, a player who is extremely underrated, and I think that he's really gaining Ruben Amorim's trust in a very quiet and yet ruthless and effective way. I think Ruben Amorim really likes him, and for good reason, okay? I think he's really composed, but here what he does, look at this. Okay, so he comes in, same thing, you know, he just comes in into this position right here in that defensive midfield position. We are struggling to get the ball out. It doesn't matter. He maintains his position. But then now the magic. Aidan Heaven, another player who has gained Ruben Amorim's trust, and I think that he's going to feature extensively this season. Really good. Again, composed, under pressure. And then now, as the Leeds United player, I think this is great, realizes that Fredrickson is actually in acres of space, it's a little bit too late, because what's going to happen now is that Fredrickson is going to make a move forward. Remember, this is the central defensive central center back, right? So he's supposed to be the most defensive player for Manchester United, and yet he's making a run forward. This is exciting. And then as Heaven goes, this is a third man run. He's not the target for the pass. Højlund is, and then Højlund just lays it in his path, and then Fredrickson is able to progress the ball. And this is another exciting way Manchester United can actually beat the opposition's press and progress the ball vertically. So we had that build up with 3 center backs and 2 defensive midfielder, and then this game, Ruben Amorim has used extensively, you know, his method of build-up, where he has one of the defenders, one of the center backs, moving into the defensive midfield position, and then here we have a more libero, you know, more total football type of approach to build up, and this is extremely exciting. Okay, and then now let's move on to the third observation. The astronomer, CEO, and the head of HR. This is so cringe. I can't believe I just said that. Sorry, Casemiro and Ahmad. I love you guys. But Casemiro and Ahmad, 2 extremely intelligent players who were able to exploit the half spaces. And I think that this is extremely underrated. You know, the half spaces are extremely important. There are managers, for example, Pep Guardiola, who have made a career out of exploiting the half spaces. And I think that's something that Manchester United does not do enough of. But here in this game, especially in the first half, it seems like Ruben Amorim's system was actually targeting those half spaces a little more than usual. Why? Because the Manchester United players were actually always organized in very narrow formations. This is something that someone like Garnacho doesn't really give you, because he likes to go wide. But with players like Cunha, for example, Bruno Fernandes and Ahmad, who actually likes to come in to the central areas, that means all of the Leeds players were attracted to the central areas and freeing up those half spaces. And then now when you have players like Ahmad and Casemiro who are quite intelligent, they're actually able to make intelligent moves and exploit those half spaces. Here, for example, Ahmad is making a run, and then Casemiro is able to anticipate that run and then find a pass through the eye of the needle into this path, the path of Ahmad. And then this should have been 1-0 Manchester United. But this picture, to me, says 1,000 words here, because you have the contrast between Cunha, an experienced player who is in the best position right here to score. I believe he could have scored. And then Chidobe, who is a young, a teenager, a young striker who is, too excited, who is probably too eager to score, and make a name for himself. And then it resulted in this comical situation. I'm not going to knock down Chidobe. In fact, I believe that in order to be a a great goal scorer, you have to be somewhat selfish, So again, it doesn't matter. Maybe they need to communicate a little bit better. But what matters here is how did we put ourselves in this position in the first place? And it's by exploiting the half spaces in here. The second sequence is even better. Again, here, as you can see, Casemiro and Ahmad are going to be involved in there. And as you can see here, a lot of Manchester United players are in these narrow formations, which means that a lot of Leeds players stay here and they neglect the half spaces. Collier's run here as well is taking Ampadu with him, which means that now Casemiro can do what he does. Casemiro's runs are extremely underrated. Ahmad's technique here and vision that allows him to find the pass is exquisite. And I think that in this season, if we keep doing a lot of this, just finding ways to exploit the half spaces, I think that we are going to be much more prolific. All right, so I'm sure that this video has provided plenty of evidence to show that Ruben Amorim is proactively looking at ways to evolve his tactical approach. I personally really find that Fredrickson sequence as a highly exciting and promising sequence. However, I do not think that we have, honestly speaking, a centre-back who can play that role to perfection, okay? I think Lenioro probably is the closest because I think that he is big and fast, but at the same time, he's elegant and he does have, a good range of passing. But I think that if we are being honest, that role could be played amazingly well. If we had a defender in the mold of Yaya Toure. I know Yaya Toure is not a defender, but if you remember, he played centre-back for Barcelona in that Champions League final against Manchester United in Rome. Basically, a player like that who's literally a midfielder playing in defense, who has the athleticism and the dribbling ability, as well as the passing ability and the creativity to play that role. I think maybe this season is going to be a little bit too soon, but next summer, with players like Maguire, for example, moving on, maybe it could be an opportunity to invest in a centre-back with these qualities. But I found that sequence, really, really interesting. I mean, I've said it many times, but I love to geek out on tactics and things like that. So I found that sequence really interesting, and I would love to see more of those sequences throughout the season. So anyway, guys, tell me, what do you think of Manchester United's performance? We don't care about scores here during preseason. This first game against Leeds, just like the first game against Rosenborg last season, is mainly about fitness, about match sharpness and readiness, etc. But of course, as we get deeper into preseason, games against Bournemouth and Everton, for example, as well as Fiorentina, then you can expect to see players playing, 60, 70, maybe 90 minutes in preparation for that game against Arsenal. So things are going to become much more settled, and then we're going to have a clearer idea of the tactical approach that Ruben Amorim is going to have next season. Please let me know if there are any things I've missed in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, guys, and you want to support my work, please make sure that you give this video the thumbs up and that you comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time, cheers.